Today I'm gonna start with some refactoring, and I want to do that because we kind of made a plan for the development process, and before I can really add any new features, I need to make sure that the code is in good condition and it's clean enough. So I'm gonna start with running the project, and I will also run a tunnel that would allow anyone who watches the stream to kind of tag along, and you will be able to access the version I am running at the moment of development in your browser. So let's do that. And this is the URL. You will also see it flashing in a top left corner every minute or so. So you can follow this link. It's basically my local port 8080 exposed to the internet. With that being said, let me run the project locally. Okay, seems to be working, and I'm going to pick up from here. Yo, hey. Okay. Let's see. So the terrain system, I think it's fine. Let me remove this redundant comments. I think it's in good shape. State management. Let's see if we need to implement some changes here. Yeah, well, there is no item anymore. An occupant is always of type unit. We don't have items, and occupant is an entity that occupies an inventory slot or the battlefield slot. So we are going to start by removing this, and I will try to make sure everything works. Okay. Oh, that's great that it works. Perfect. That was a good tip, by the way, regarding the ngrok. Works perfectly. I think every time it's just because the hot reloading doesn't really get across the tunnel. Every time I make some changes, like for now, for example, I have some issues, and I think they won't be visible until the page is refreshed. Okay, let's see. So it complains at the level, and this is here, and it was not implemented because we don't use it, so this is fine. Okay, so this part works. Let's see. The state. we have the seed of the state and some general settings. The type and the entity. Well, if we are to have more than one type of occupant, then this would make a lot of sense. Yeah, but we can keep it for now. It's a nice abstraction to have. So for example, we would have a unit here, and then the type of the unit, for example, character A, and then the universal ID of the character. And this type of abstraction allows to have multiple characters of the same type, multiple like character A's, for example. So this is handy. I'm gonna leave this as it is. Okay, so the player. This is a good one. The player has a balance, and the balance persists across levels. Then there is a difficulty, which is assigned to the player. Oh yeah, the chat command. I'm fairly new to this whole Twitch thing, so but that's a great idea. I should look into that. It would be nice to get the link with the chat command. I should also probably add it to description or something, if that's a thing on Twitch. Okay, so here we have the difficulty, which is a number between 0 and 100 at the moment. And then we have a list of upgrades. Now, there are two types of upgrades. Upgrade is something that you purchase. So maybe upgrade is not a good name for it. Basically, when you win a level, you purchase either a character that's an occupant under the hood, or you purchase an upgrade which will alter the gameplay. And the way this is being used at the moment is I'm not really storing the characters here. I'm storing the upgrades that affect the probabilities of items and that affect like certain behavior in the vendor screen, for example. So I don't really like the naming of this thing. And then the weight, it's also not very declarative. Weight is basically probability map that determines which upgrade or which character. Maybe they should be called rewards at the end of the level instead of upgrades. And so the weights determine the probability for each of the reward. Now, weights probably should be renamed to, because this is confusing for me. It should probably be renamed to probabilities. And we're going to break everything. Okay. Space. What the hell is space? Space. Okay, so this is the space you have in the inventory. And this is a crappy naming as well. So this should be... Okay, we have the probabilities, and I really, like, for some reason, I really don't like the names for variables that consist of several words. It's like an OCD thing, but I think I can navigate around it by doing something like this, inventory, and then the inventory has size, which is a number, and it has slots. And the slots is not a correct word for this. It should be we should call this occupants. Okay, now we're going to break stuff all over the place. Let's go ahead and find where the stuff is breaking. Okay, so let's see. The player dot inventory dot occupants equals the player inventory occupants, and I think occupant is not correct here, really. State tile, because oh no, maybe it is. Okay. Here we do occupant if occupant dot okay. So now we have the this is not a good name to use here. I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, and then slot occupant entity type equals and break it down. Okay, so whenever we are occupying the tile, we want to ask the state to assert the operation, because when we're occupying the tile on the battlefield, it means that we should remove it from the inventory. So this function kind of does the assertion, and it's not a guarantee that it will execute. And then try occupy specific tile versus try occupy tile is basically when we want to occupy a specific tile. Well, it's self-explanatory. When we kind of like pressing, like we're clicking on one of the tiles in a battlefield, which means that we know its ID and we want to place the character into that tile. So we're providing the ID. Otherwise, we just put it whenever on the battlefield, and this is the function that does that sort of an assertion. So we do the same thing here. And now we need to change this inventory dot occupants. And then slot becomes the local occupant to not shadow the same variable that's coming from the arguments. Well, usually I would do it the other way around. I would prefix the arguments so that I know that we're talking about an argument. I think it's a better approach, but I'm too lazy to do that. Let's see. Yeah, hello. So this will be occupant dot type. And we'll do the same thing here. Okay, then when we want to free the tile on the battlefield, this is what we call, it's also not guaranteed call, so we might fail doing that. So what we want to do is to change this to inventory dot occupants push the occupant, and we are pushing this thing. Type entity type and UID. This looks correct. Okay. So then the upgrades, we renamed the upgrades. We upgrades. Yeah, this should be upgrades, and then the other thing, like whatever you get from the vendor, should be called rewards. So probabilities. Let's see, the weights are probabilities now. Yeah, and it should be here because the probabilities should persist across different levels. Yes. And space equals 3 is not correct anymore. We should, let's do it like this. Inventory. Yep. The size is now 3. And the default occupants array is empty. So this is great. This is the saving functionality. And this is we want to erase the state. And when we erase the state, we are kind of resetting. And this function will need to take into consideration the fact that there could be some upgrades that the player possesses, which prevent complete erasure of the state. And the thing I don't like about this particular snippet is the fact that we kind of have duplicate here when we are recreating the state and when we are erasing. So this should be extracted. This should be extracted. Since we're calling this create, maybe this should be recreate player, and this thing for now is just going to return It's going to return this thing. Like so. And we want to make sure this is the player type, state player. And then we are going to reset the player to this value. And the same thing we are going to do. Well, is it the same thing? We have difficulty 0. This I set for debugging purposes, so this is not not magic. 5, 10, 10, 20. Okay, so this seems to be the same thing. So we are safe to do this. Okay. And then this is just serialization logic and deserialization logic. So this seems fine. Now the player and the prices are simple objects, like simple JavaScript objects. So we can just deserialize them and not care. But the stages, each of the levels, they require constructors. So we can't just create them because they are classes. So that's where we kind of take in the data and then recreate the object. And I'm trying to see if there's something that I'm forgetting about. This seems correct. And then we just say that, okay, we've loaded the state. So this is fine. I think we're done here. Let's see. Stages I will leave for the last thing to do. Okay, this seems fine. This is the sequencer that allows to make behaviors. I think in a way it's kind of similar to Mechanim. Like in I think it's in Unity, right? Let's see. Yeah, so basically it's something like this, and like very, very dumb version of that, because there are no like implicit transitions. They have to be coded manually, and the state is kind of not very declarative because it's just top to bottom code. Like there's no way to currently see the like on a two-dimensional table, but this is fine because we're not doing anything too complicated here. So this I think is going to be fine. This is an interesting piece of code, but maybe I'll make like a video about it sometime later. Event controller is fairly simple. It doesn't need anything else. Now we have, okay, so these are the so-called components. And let's see if we need to change something here. So we start with the component, and it has the dead variable. And if it's set to dead, it's going to be garbage collected. And then UID has a tag, and then the GUID. I don't think this is going to be very breaking if I remove it, because when a component is created, currently it requires a certain like tag, which is a magical string, and then it appends the GUID. But if I am to create GUIDs procedurally from outside of the component class, oh yeah, it's the stabilization. Yeah, I will see if I can do anything about that later. It's too late now, I think. And I think it's the mic that kind of confuses the tracking. Yeah, let's see if. Yeah, it's still a bit drunk, huh? I think it's the mic. Maybe if I keep it like this. Yeah. Well, I guess I'll have to fix it next time. Okay, so and I want the IDs to be similar regardless of whether they were created from within the component or outside of the component, provided from outside. And so if we get the UID from outside, we use that. Otherwise, we generate new one. And I'm going to break most of the code by removing this in the constructor. And so this is the component. And let's take a look at this set of interfaces. So we have a UID, we have update, unmount, pulse play, hide, and show. And then there is a collidable interface, and there is attack. Okay, and then there is hurt. So collidable is basically everything that has a physical collision box around it. I attack is the interface that is inherited by attack components, like by, for example, when you make a swing, then the swing in itself spawns the action of the swing, spawns a volume that can hurt enemies. And usually, like when it comes to the swing, for example, it gets garbage collected after the collision, so it hurts the enemies or everyone who is doing the collision checks against it once, and then it self-destructs. And the I unit is something that is implemented by enemies, by enemy characters or the player characters. And both of the types can get hurt, and both of the types can attack. And then there are triggers, and triggers implement component and collidable. And triggers is are currently placed at the leftmost side of the screen, which is basically uh, a way for me to detect if the enemies have reached the end of the screen. And here I think I can also remove this. And we don't supply IDs from the outside currently. There is no need for that, but I'm gonna break this as well and remove the tag. And now here we don't need the tag. Just gonna do the same thing. We just want the GUID. Okay, and we inherit unit and collidable. This I think is fairly solid. It's basically a glorified array which houses all of the different types of components, attacks, triggers, and units. And then performs operations like garbage collection. So this is fine. This looks good. So yeah, we're done with this. We're done with this. Now this two, like these three files are a bit more complicated, so I'm gonna leave them for the last. And constants, they are fine. Have some directions. Have enemy attacks. We have enemy units. We have events. Game states. Player attacks. Player units. Stages, triggers, and upgrades. Now, upgrades should be rewards. If I'm completely honest, I don't like this. So this is going to break a lot of things. So I think this should be rewards, and then we rename this accordingly. Like so. So this is reward. And we really should differentiate between the reward that is a character and reward that affects the meta level. So I am going to make an additional array called an additional enum called upgrades. And we are going to list this I'm thinking whether I should change the reward to upgrade. I probably should, or it can get confusing. Hello. And okay, everything is broken, but that's fine. Now, uh, let's first fix these things, and then we see what we're doing next. Okay. Okay, so these are the upgrade issues, because the probabilities should be set for the rewards. This is easy. And now we need to change the type to no, we change the type here. And let's import this. Missing. Yeah, and this should be renamed to reward. Okay, let's see what else is broken. Okay, so this is the inventory issue. Let's go to the level. So this is like the main description of what's happening whenever you're in any of the levels, and it doesn't matter if it's a hub level or a level with enemies, because this is kind of defining all of those behaviors in one place. So let's see. Oh, I'm going to see what changes are needed here while I'm at it. Start here. We need the component controller, the timer, the sequencer. We need the terrain system, the state. Okay, so persistent is a flag that allows us to know whether the level should be saved in a save file, exactly as we see it. Currently, all of the levels are non-persistent. Every time you go into a level, it gets generated with a new seed. And later on, like for example, if we decide to have save, yeah, we have decided to have a save. So basically, the save area hub is the only place that would be persistent, because we don't want it to change every time we go there. Okay, so these are the Pixie containers. We have text balance, text hint. These are fine. These are fine. Selected occupant. This is fine as well. Okay. Load the level. Generate the playing field. Generate the terrain. Set up UI, arena, decorations, sequences, events. Binding the relayout events. Populate the inventory. and apply the signs. Okay, let's go one by one. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine. In controls. Okay, so this should be really renamed to inventory because this is not controls, this is inventory. And this will break in 2 places, I believe. Controls, and we want to call this. Okay. Oh, it's just one place. I wonder if I'm calling it from some other place. Probably I am. Okay. Yeah, this still holds. I still need to fix this line. It's not very nice. State player. So here we do inventory.occupants. No? Space, yes. We do inventory.size, which is now making so much sense. And then basically this is the same thing. And this is player inventory.occupants. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah. This is size of the inventory. I should probably add like lenses on these properties to like save the reference to this entire thing in one variable so it's easier to read. Player inventory occupants find occupant type and stages. This looks fine. So basically this is the function that does reconciliation. Whenever we are adding something or removing it from the state, we're kind of notifying the level to reconcile the state and then either spawn or kill an inventory item or the character on the battlefield. So this function kind of marries the state to what we see on a screen. So these are the sequences. These are easings for the different text items. We should add more easings. The more like twinning animations are happening, the better. These are the sun rays, and this is the wave descriptor. Okay. Now let's see if this makes sense. Yeah. So basically, stage. Yeah, this is the function that gets called either in the beginning of the level or upon victory conditions being met, because we can only have signs if there is no hostility in the level. And if we are spawning into the level which doesn't have any enemies, and implicitly, mechanically, it means that the amount of seconds on the level is 0. Which means that, like, the waves are done, they're not going to come anymore. And if that happens, then we should display the signs, but we should not emit the sound effects. We should not make the sound effects of placing the signs, and we should not create the dust particles because they're already there. We're not placing them. But if we win the level, then this function makes sure that not only the signs get rendered, but they also spawn the particles and the sound, which is happening here and which is happening here. So this seems to be solid. I just need to make sure that this is inventory and then occupants. And when we press on the sign, currently it's trying to pick up all of the characters on the battlefield if they fit into the inventory, to make sure that we kind of don't forget and rush into the next level without picking up our characters. This may be up to debate. Depends on the playtesting, I guess. State player inventory size, and then we have the collision detection. It's very trivial. It's extremely trivial. It's basically many to many. It's extremely inefficient, but it's fine for the purposes of this game. Like, if we were to make something complicated, then we would have to do space partitioning and kind of uh, divide the battlefield like into a sparse oak tree or something, that would allow us to only do collision checks with entities that are occupying the same quadrant, basically. And if your screen is divided into quadrants, then you just need to make sure that you push a character into the quadrant whenever their position changes. So it's kind of like a trade-off where, because the collision checks happen every frame, but you could you would also update the quadrants on every frame, but not for every character. So this seems to be like a better way to optimize the runtime and save some FPS. But we're not doing that because we don't care. We're going to also change it here. Inventory occupants, right? And I don't really like that there's too many things happening in these two events, on defeat and on victory. Like, we're setting a bunch of different things and make sure they're all correct. And I'm not sure if there is a better way to do this at the moment. I'm also kind of passing the member function of the level class through a callback into the vendor so that the vendor can affect the reconciliation and affect the state. And I'm also kind of not sure about that. Maybe it shouldn't need to know anything about, but then the state changes within the vendor. So this means that it should know. It should have a handle to the state object. I'm not a big fan of this, but we can think about this later if there is a better, cheap way to do it. Okay. So this stuff is fine. We're just destroying, relayouting. Oh, okay. So this thing we definitely need to fix because this is way too broken. It's basically like keyboard hotkeys, and they don't work currently. Fix this. Okay. Now let's see how many errors we get now. Yeah, it's regarding the upgrade. Okay. Yeah, always cheap. Let's go to the. Okay, so the level is fine. Before we go further, we might want to see what's up with the stage. So level is basically inheriting stage logic. And we have a stage name. We have a container, event controller, the app reference, and this seems to be fine. This is going to be okay. And let's see the stage controller. Now the stage controller is something that does everything in the game. It interacts with the state, it hydrates, and it's like a main hub that has the event controller. This is where it trickles down from. And let's see. So this is where we get the key presses. This is fine. This can stay like this. Load stage. This is fine. And we're currently only saving when we go to the main menu. This is where it happens. Which I guess is fine. There should be another ticket actually for this, because it's not just rebalancing. We need to make sure that we save only we want to make sure that the save system doesn't let you cheese. No cheese with saves. This is good enough. Okay. Okay, this is the music, the sounds, they're fine. Okay, now this is the place. Say no, this is fine. This is good. This is good. Now let's. We have done. No, we haven't done this one. State, terrain. These are fine. Yeah, we should fix these as well. So there could be hidden issues with this. Like it might not necessarily recognize the mistyping during the constructor call because they're like default values, and if we set a default value, it would think that, oh, we're passing the tag and we're not passing the tag. And so like it might just be unexpected runtime behavior. So I need to make sure I go through all of the calls to these things and make sure that the data I pass makes sense. Encryption, stun, damage, this is fine. Components, this is fine. Okay. So this is good as well. We're done with the core. Now we can probably, let's start from here. Enemy attack swing component that extends the attack interface. Okay. Okay, it's good. It's actually. So let's see. I'm curious if I screwed everything up with this. So we set the stun, we set the damage. Oh, I should also make sure that the debug version of the game runs with the debug information properly. Like these clauses. Okay, so this is fine. This thing as well. Player attack projectile. We don't need the tag. Everything else seems solid here as well. Okay. The button component. I hate the button component. It just has too many things at the moment, and it has just been growing in functionality. I think it's a bit bloated. Label. Let's see what the constructor accepts. The label, the name. I don't really think the name here. Not sure why this thing is here. This UID. I guess I'll have to look into it a bit later. Make sure everything works. Okay. This is fine. Now this thing doesn't need a tile, which is great because it was just a weird string. I didn't like it at all. And this thing also has this weird thing. We don't need this. Okay. Okay, so this thing we need to remove. We don't need it. And here as well, good thing I double checked because this is not an ID. It would make the component controller very confused if multiple items had the same IDs. Okay. And then dust. We don't need this crap. Okay, we also don't need a sequencer here. Sunlight. Okay, let's see the bonfire. It's fine. Sign. The sign looks fine. Now the vendor. We're going to have some scrambling with this. The altar. Fine. It's fine. Trigger loss. Okay. To remove this as well. I think my camera feed is off. For some reason. See. Okay. So now let's see where were we? Yeah, okay. So we need to fix the constructor calls here as well. Now with the player characters, we are possibly supplying the IDs from outside of the component, and that's what we're going to fix. Let's see. Unit warrior. So we fix this thing as well. And here. Now we need to see what's happening with the vendor. see. Since we've changed the upgrades, we kind of removed the upgrades and renamed them to rewards. Now we need to make sure everything else is correct. Let me see the build. Okay. It's basically all of it is in vendor, which means that we fixed everything else. So this is great. Okay, so this object is essentially the descriptions of each of the rewards, and this should be of type rewards instead. This is where we start. So we fix the rewards, and then I'm not going to bulk rename everything just to make sure I understand what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, so when we hit the reward of the unit ranged, we also renamed this to inventory.occupants, and this is inventory.size. Yeah, and same thing here. So this is fine, this is correct. And yeah, so and here is where we do the check whether we can purchase more updates from the same vendor. And state player upgrades includes upgrades. So this is completely fine. Here we are going to fix this as well. And same thing. Inventory dot occupants length. This should be extracted into a separate function, which is basically us asking the state if the player has enough space in the inventory. This should be extracted in a different function so we don't repeat ourselves. I'm gonna make a quick note for myself. Query separate function, and then we do player inventory occupants push. And this is fine, and this is fine as well. Reward. Yep. Player. Again, I'm kind of afraid of doing a quick search and replace. Just better to be safe. Inventory.size. Inventory occupants push. This is fine. Rewards. Reward unit warrior. There is a lot of repeating code here. This is a candidate for refactoring as well. Oh, inventory and dot size. And then here we do. Okay, now this are upgrades. Let's see. And this upgrade, it's a one-off. You get it and that's it. So we don't need to do anything else about it. State player inventory dot size +1 and we're done. Upgrade keep difficulty is also a one-off. We don't need to store it inside of the player object. So this is fine. And here, rewards, reward purchase multiple. Now this thing, yes, exactly. So when we get the reward purchase multiple, we store the upgrade purchase multiple in the player upgrades, and then we set the probabilities for the reward. Yep, for the reward to 0. Reward purchase multiple. Yes, and now after we've done that, we're doing some local manipulations with the probability map. So we want to clone it. We want to have a deep clone to make sure we don't have any issues with the references. And we're going to deep clone the probabilities property. And yep. So we get the actual reward. We don't get an upgrade, right? We need the probabilities are rewards, so we should do it like so. We get the reward equals rewards purchase multiple. Yep. So yeah, essentially when we get the reward that allows us to purchase multiple thing, it gets into effect immediately and changes the weights immediately for our current iteration. And we are doing just multiple clone probabilities. This should be the proper name. And then clone probabilities rewards reward purchase multiple, and we're making sure we don't get it again. And then we return the reward. And then we iterate for each of the rewards. Get this, which is fine. Yep. And here we get the name. Oh yeah, okay. So the name of the function is the name for the button is important because the button might subscribe. Does it subscribe though? I need to double check. Let's see. Label price. This is fine. Let's see if anything works. Well, the game runs, which is good. Let's see what's happening here. I'm going to erase the state as well. Like, I don't know, for some reason Chrome developer tools changed the color to teal, which is slightly annoying. Let's go to the local storage, remove everything. Oh, we also want to see if it repopulates properly. So we go to start, we get $100, and then when we get back home, we should save the state, and let's see what's in here. So we have the seed for the general like game save. I'm not sure we need the prices. This is past past implementations, like it just carried over. I'm gonna remove that. Difficulty 0, balance 100, upgrades none, correct. Probabilities for rewards are correct. Inventory correct. Let's see. So we pick this little guy. We can place it back. We get more. Okay, yep, this works. This works. And then we can go into the battle. Yep, they get hurt. Everything works fine. And okay, now next thing I need to do is to check whether the button name is really important and whether I'm subscribing from within the button, which is not a good thing. This little bat spawned after the level ended. There's probably some issue with the sequencer. Maybe like I will need to look into that. Let me just log the bug. Maybe I should add a bugs section. Bat appeared after level has been finished. All right. Okay, but everything seems to behave exactly as it was behaving previously, which is a good sign. I want to see where I'm creating the buttons. Let's see. Close all. Name. So there is the mock. So we're kind of mocking the events. And this is fine. And here we actually supply the event controller. And let's see why exactly it's needed. So I don't remember. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this thing is needed to make sure this kind of, and it's not being used at the moment. It is not being used. So basically this thing, when it's selected, it should remain kind of highlighted, which kind of like breaks a little bit. Yeah, so this is a bug. It should remain highlighted. Okay, so I'm going to log another bug here. Inventory inventory slot should remain, should keep the hover scale while placing. the unit. Okay. And then that thing is needed. Because it's just kind of easier to handle it from here. So that's fine. And we need to fix this thing. Let me also add this to the board. Inventory rendering function unmount only amount only inventory slots, because we might have other types of buttons, and this is needed to kind of reconcile, remove all the buttons, and then recreate buttons from the current state, in case like we removed all of the stuff from it, from the inventory. So this is fine. We made this addition. Add an ability to make buttons non-interactable. This is also needed. Add an ability. And then I also want to kind of persist. No. Do not no, inventory slots should keep their order on reconciliation. And this means that whenever like I take some characters, for example, if I want to pick this character and place it somewhere, I don't want this character to jump onto like on the first slot. I want to keep this slot empty. So that's that. We have logged this ticket. Let's see what else do we have into the extract. Okay. Let's see. Let me also create this ticket. Extract space availability. Okay, this is great. This we added. This is implied. This is implied because we only have characters. And yes, fix keyboard controls. Okay, so after these bugs are done and fixed, we can actually proceed and start to implement the new stuff on top. And that will be all for today. I'm gonna go take a break and see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, whoever was watching. Bye bye.